wisdom. My love is your love. You know, I've been asking you all evening about how you are going to own this year and make it your year, and you're going to renew yourself in a way, or renew yourself for the first time. Well, we've got an expert to come in, somebody who knows a lot more about sticking to your resolutions and owning the year, to come and explain to us how we should navigate our way. It's going to be a difficult year one way or another, and keeping resolutions is difficult enough. So I'm so pleased to invite into the studio Sujata Din, who knows a thing or two about trying to keep resolutions and trying to make people new again, kind of thing. Is that right, Sujata?
Thank you for having me here.
Pleasure.
So it's actually about just improving ourselves. I'd say not changing ourselves, just up-leveling and improving from what we were doing before, and just thinking about this as what can I do better this year, and thinking about the progress we're going to make.
And this is a mindfulness journey, is it?
This is very much a mindfulness journey, because we all know what to do. Mm-hmm. We all know what we should do, shouldn't do. But often we find it difficult because we get stuck in our own mind thinking it's going to be really difficult, it's going to be challenging, I'm going to find that, I don't like to eat certain types of food. So actually, if we begin to work more on our mindset and think, what little change can I make that is doable for me, living my normal life, then we can actually do it. So fitting things into the way we are living to actually up-level our lives is the way I'd say doing it.
Dare I ask, what is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is living in the moment. Mindfulness is being present. Even when we're eating, can we be mindful when we're eating? Whatever we're drinking, actually being aware, this is what I'm eating right now, or this is what I'm doing. If I'm watching TV, let me try and watch TV and not be on the computer and on the phone at the same time. Or if I'm eating, let me just be eating and not multitasking as well. So mindfulness is really just about being present and being in the moment.
To be conscious of what you're doing. To be
conscious, aware.
And obviously, when you eat, you are mindful or not of where the food comes from.
Yeah. So when we're eating, it's just being mindful of where the foods come from, how the food has been prepared, really connecting with our five senses. What does it taste like? What does it, feel like? What does it smell like? So connecting with all the senses when we're eating as well. So we know what we're eating, because how often, I know I'm very guilty of it because I might be doing something else, but how often are we actually, while eating, maybe not even physically doing anything else, but our mind has wandered somewhere, and we might just be putting food into our mouth, but we're thinking about other things. And when we eat mindlessly, which is the opposite of eating mindfully.
That's what we do.
Yeah. So when
because we're hungry.
We're hungry and we're eating mindlessly. We don't actually remember what we've eaten or the quantity of what we've eaten. But when we're eating mindfully, we know what we've put in front of us. We are aware when we're chewing the food. We are actually chewing the food sufficient amount of times versus just a quick few chews and then take it down and then, next spoon goes in. So it's actually about slowing down, knowing what we're eating. And then there are signals that go from the brain, to the stomach to say, I'm getting satisfied. But if we eat too quickly, what happens is we end up overeating, and then we feel quite lethargic. We feel that we've overeaten, and we think, I shouldn't have done that. But when we're eating mindfully, we're actually eating slowly because we are aware, but also we're chewing our foods quite properly.
Although there are signals from the brain as well.
Yeah.
When you're eating mindfully, there are signals from the brain that says, do you know that was a little chicken? That little chicken was some little fluffy chick at one point, and now you're eating it, and that puts you off your food, doesn't it? I mean, do you have to be a vegetarian to eat mindfully?
No, you don't have to be vegetarian if you are eating non-vegetarian food. If you're eating chicken or fish, it could then just be thinking, where has this come from? Has it come from a farm? Can I try and get it from where, the animals are kept in better conditions as well? You don't need to be vegan or vegetarian to eat mindfully. Anybody can do this. But I hope if it's okay to say this right now,
of course it's okay.
January is about having more plant-based foods. It's very popular time to be having these foods. So maybe at this point you don't need to go completely vegan, because I feel it is quite difficult for some people who are used to eating a lot of animal foods to go completely vegan. But can you try and have maybe one meal a day that is vegetarian, or maybe 2 meals a day which is vegetarian, and trying just a little bit more than what you normally do, because not only is that good for our health, but it's good for the health of the planet as well.
I'm glad we started with food, nutrition, because we have to eat to live.
Yeah.
And maybe, we don't need to eat just for the instant gratification that we get when we enjoy something, and then because we lose our minds at that point, this is delicious, there's nobody who's asking where does it come from or otherwise. But we have to start from the basis of eat as you mean to go on, if that makes sense. And for the new year, we mean to go on to improve ourselves, so we improve our eating. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we set the intentions. I think January is a really good time to set our goals, to set our intentions. But many people set too many goals, I feel, that then they find really hard to keep to. So I would say just set maybe 1 or 2 really big goals that you want, maybe for a month or for 3 months, or by the end of the year, and say, this is my big goal for this year. It could be, it doesn't need to be only weight loss. I find a lot of people are just focusing only on weight loss. It could be to, have more energy, or to sleep better, or to eat mindfully, and then work backwards and say, okay, this is my big goal. What do I now need to do to get to these goals? And I also feel our health markers are very important, very much in the news often, with an increase in risk of diabetes, heart disease. What can we do?
Hence the weight loss concentration, isn't it?
So often people think about, I need to just lose weight and that will help me. But if you don't lose weight the right way, you're not necessarily helping your health markers. If we eat healthy, if we are more active, if we're sleeping better, if we're meditating, if we try and bring all these together in a very holistic way, what we can do is to just lose weight without feeling like we've got to be on a diet. And at the same time, we're actually improving our health markers. And it's really easy to do this if we take away the idea of punishing ourselves with diets or of restricting ourselves, but actually just think about it as, let me eat foods that taste good, that are healthy, and that are real foods, because we have normalized eating processed foods. It's become very much normal to just eat a lot of foods that are high in salt, high in sugar, high in fats. But I think if there now begins to become more of a movement, or even if an individual says, I set my intention to eat real foods, and more of us are doing that, we can go back to eating how our grandparents ate, or our great-grandparents ate as well.
The big goals obviously are up there, and like you say, be realistic with them. But what about the smaller goals? What is it, and how important are they? What is it that keeps us trying to achieve small goals? Like, for example, we had a caller earlier on, Jake in Orpington, who said, no, this year I'm going to be nicer to everybody. I'm going to share a lot of love. He's just literally suffered a stroke in the last 5 weeks, he told us about, graciously. And he said, right, this year I'm going to speak to my neighbours more. I'm going to be, helpful and positive towards more and more people this year. That, to me, sounds like a big goal for him, but for me, it would be a relatively small goal, and I wouldn't be that bothered if I didn't achieve it, Look, I tried to speak a lot more to more people this year, but it didn't work out, but still, I carry on. I still feel like I've done something this year, I wonder whether there's a kind of a dopamine sort of hit when we come up with these small goals that we may or may not achieve, but they're their goals, secondary goals, if you like, from those main goals that we aim for?
Yeah. So I think you touched on a very good thing there, because you said what might be a big goal for somebody else might be a small goal for somebody else, right? And I think it depends on where we are on this journey, because some people might be at a starting point of their journey, and some people might be at the middle, and some might have been, moving a little bit further down on that journey. So when we look at where am I on my specific journey with what I'm doing, then we can begin to think, okay, what do I now need to do to get to my big goal? And I'll use an example, which is similar to what your caller spoke about, which is being positive, right? You use the word being positive, and he talked about speaking more to other people around him, but you use the word positive. And that's a very big part of what I do also, is let us begin to focus on the good things that are happening in our lives. What are the positive things that are happening? Because we all have a negative bias. I know I do. And I have to work hard at not going down that downward spiral of the negative bias. So what can I now do to try and catch those thoughts if I'm worried about something, if I'm thinking about all the what if this goes wrong, what if all this goes wrong, instead of what if it goes right? So it's catching those and saying, if I make my goal, I'm going to be more positive. It'll come back to meditation and mindfulness, being more present in the moment, and saying, if I catch and I'm aware of these thoughts coming, what can I do to shift my thoughts from one thought pattern to another thought pattern? It could be as simple as, that's the big goal, becoming positive, but when I catch myself, I could go out for a walk. Maybe it's raining, maybe it's nighttime, I can't go out for a walk. It could be I journal, or I do breath work and I do some breathing exercises, or I am just going to listen to some music. But those will become the smaller goals to lead us to the bigger goals. And we can have big goals for our mind, as in this example, but we could also have big goals for sleeping, for our health as well, in terms of health markers. So we can set a big goal and say, what are all the little things that need to line up to help me get to that big goal? And not doing anything perfectly. Nobody needs to do anything perfectly. They just need to try their best every day and think, on a daily basis, am I improving by a little bit?
Yes, improving by a little bit, but the challenges remain, and not least if you're a woman going through the menopause, which I know is one of your specialisms. What can you do to make that experience, if it is debilitating, and it's not necessarily the same for all women, I get that, but if it is debilitating, what advice can you offer for going through that experience? Yeah,
I think with menopause, perimenopause, menopause, it is something that we're all, as women, going to go through. And the symptoms are so different. For some, it is very severe. It's affecting the daily quality of life. It would be to actually think about what can we change when we are going through the menopause symptoms, because it could be low energy is a big one, feeling bloated, having the hot flushes, having the night sweats, the mood swings. So there are many different symptoms that we go through because of the change in hormones. We cannot stop the change in hormones. That's a natural process. But what can we do to help us with improving sleep, or reducing stress, or to feel less bloated, or a lot of women will find that they're gaining weight. And again, there is a connection between if you are at a higher risk, if you are overweight or if you're obese, it actually has been shown to worsen some of the menopause symptoms like hot flushes and night sweats. So then just taking charge and saying, okay, I can't stop the hormones changing, but I can, to some extent, change what I'm eating to support my hormones, because a lot of these processed foods don't help us through menopause. What we need to do is to go through having more foods with protein, with fiber, with healthy fats. We still need fats, but not those bad fats. We just want to have more of the healthy fats. So what can I do during menopause to have more of the healthy foods? What can I do to reduce my stress levels? Because stress, when we're going through stress, it's affecting cortisol, but it's also affecting things like insulin, which will have a knock-on effect on other hormones. So our hormones are all interconnected, and one will have a knock-on effect on another. So trying to reduce our stress levels, meditation is amazing. It's a very big part of what I do with my clients. I think it's very important that we do that. Sleep. Again, if we don't sleep well, it has this knock-on effect.
Yeah, but it's not an easy thing. I know. Yeah. I'm a night worker, and I can tell you, and I'm going through some sleep challenges at the moment, obviously, and nothing to do with the menopause, but I'm saying it's easier said than done to get more sleep and, to regulate your sleep better, or to sleep in, periods of time, the same periods of time, etc. It's hard, you know that.
It is really hard.
Really hard.
It is really, really hard. But it would then come to, can I switch off from my gadgets? Can I journal? Can I just lie in bed and do some breathing exercises? And it won't happen. I agree. It won't happen within a night. It won't happen within a week. I've had clients who've had real sleep issues. And when I dug deeper and found, asking them, what is it that, you're doing when you can't sleep? They often say, I'm on my phone or I'm on the computer. So it was, take that away. What can you do instead of that? Because you need to be doing something, because you're used to doing something. You can't replace it with nothing. So we did things like adult coloring books. We did puzzles. We just said, put the phone away. And it took a few weeks. And the sleep slowly improved. I agree, it doesn't happen in a day or a week. It'll take a while, but it does happen. So during menopause, it's really supporting through a holistic approach in terms of the food, the activity, the meditation, the sleep, the reducing of the stress.
So you wouldn't recommend taking sleeping tablets, because that's another option, isn't it? And that is the immediate option for me at the moment. I've had several people say, look, have you tried sleeping tablets? And I'm like, whoa, I've never taken them, and I don't want to start taking them. However, that does seem to be a solution.
Yeah, I think that is like a quick fix solution.
Yeah. But if it works and you can't sleep,
I think if it works, always firstly speaking to the doctor. I think because you don't want to become dependent on it. Once you become dependent on it, you may be taking one tablet, but one tablet soon won't be enough, and then you need to have a little bit more. So, speaking to the doctors, seeing what they would say as well. But at the same time, what can you do to improve your own sleep environment? Whether it's, maybe switching off. I think our minds are so wired that even in the middle of the night, I can wake up thinking. But it's, again, being aware.
It's the rubbish that's in my mind that I'm always alarmed by. It's like, how can I rid myself of that rubbish? Okay, you can rid yourself of toxins by changing your diet or whatever it might be, but it feels like the brain chatter in your head.
It's non-stop.
Yeah, it's completely nonsense. And it's rubbish as well. It's kind of, why am I thinking about this in this time of night? I'm trying to get sleep.
Yeah.
But the moment that thought enters my mind, and I'm sure many other people, and it just keeps you awake. That's what keeps you awake and wake. Yeah. It's not even trying to figure it out, but just like it's there.
Yeah.
How do you read your mind?
In the middle of the night, if you're finding it hard to sleep, it is useful to come to your breathing, because the mind is thinking. Now, you could do different types of breathing exercises at night. You could do the box breathing. So what you're doing is, box breathing is simply breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. Or you could breathe in, for 4, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. Oh, no. Like you could do different types of breathing exercises. I'd like you to try that. And I'll tell you why. Yeah, I'll tell you why I'd like you to try that. Because at night, if you're thinking, your mind is busy in thinking. Yeah. But when you bring your awareness, which is that mindfulness word coming again, when you bring your awareness to your breath and you're counting the breath right now, your mind has stopped the thinking and it's coming to actually noticing the breathing. I like the box breathing, but there are many other types of breathing exercise as well. But you can just come to it and you could just be saying, I breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and then hold for 4. See how many times you can do that. You might manage one cycle, or it might be a few more, but you just keep building on that. I'm
going to try it now, but I'm not going to try it on air, as it were. I'm going to try, in fact, should we play a record and come back to this and see if I've passed out or not? Honestly, it would be worth waiting to find out if I pass out. I'm going to try this box breathing. And if it works, I'll be asleep after this song. I'll be soundly asleep. And if it doesn't work, that's not sleeping. That's unconsciousness. Yeah, it's a slight difference. Sujata, it's all on you. Don't go anywhere. We'll find out. Yeah. So 4 in, 4 out. Maybe 7 in, 7 out, 4.
No.
We'll
so
try.
let's do the easy one. Breathe in for 4,
Yeah.
hold for 4,
Yeah.
breathe out for 4.
Okay.
Hold for 4.
Keep your fingers crossed for me. I'm going to breathe in for 4. I'm going to hold it for 4. And then I'm going to breathe out for 4. But remember, if you don't hear from me after this, either please keep the volume down because I'm trying to get 40 wings, or call an ambulance. One way or another, if you don't hear from me after this, you know what to do. Sujata, it's all down to you.
We'll try it now.
Can't get no rest.
Well, I'm here, and no need to panic. No need to panic. Sujata Din has been. I've been in her good hands, and she's a mindfulness coach. Is that right, Sujata?
A health coach, meditation teacher, very much focused on mindfulness.
And for our benefit today, she's been helping us get through this challenge of a new you for a new year, and she just taught me how to breathe. It's like, I thought. There are certain things that you do naturally, as a child. Breathing is one of them. And it feels like you've just taught me a new way of breathing. So what I've been doing is breathing in for 4 seconds, holding my breath for 4 seconds, then breathing out for 4 seconds, and holding my breath, having breathed out for another 4 seconds. So very simple. But you were saying to me, as I came out of a cycle of 5, was it that we did, or 3 or 4?
We did 3 cycles.
3 cycles, okay. Yeah. As I was coming out of that, you said, but if you need to regulate your breathing to help you sleep, you would breathe out more.
More for longer. Yeah. The exhalation would be longer.
Okay, so the intake would be 4.
Yeah.
The holding the breath would be 4.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. And I think for some people, I want to say for some people, 4 might be too long. So you could do 3.
Okay.
But even if you did breathe in for 3, hold for 3, breathe out for 4. But whatever your counting is, try and make the breathing out longer when you're finding it difficult to sleep.
Essentially, you're regulating your breathing.
Yeah.
You're regulating your breathing.
And what we wanted to do is come to our breath to really anchor us into this moment. As I was sharing when the music was on a little bit earlier, was we can only breathe for this moment. We cannot breathe for the future. We cannot breathe for the past. So our breath becomes this anchor saying, I'm breathing for right now, and I can connect with my breath and be here right now, just focusing on the breath. So when the mind is racing at night and thinking about all those other things that are really not important at that time, things we cannot change, things that we cannot do anything about, what we want to just remind ourselves is, let me connect with my breath and let me come back into this present moment and just be with my breath. And the mind over time just begins to calm down, relax. We're letting go of a lot of these racing thoughts. As we're with our breath, those thoughts begin to go into the background, and we're not forcing them away, because when we tell ourselves, I'm not going to think, we begin to think a little bit more. But by just bringing the awareness to the breath, naturally the thoughts are beginning to go, into the background and fade away as well. It takes time. It takes practice.
Of course, what doesn't?
Yeah. Anything that is worthwhile does require practice and habits.
How do you feel as if, this new year and the new breathing that you showed me will turn, there's a new me coming out at the end of it. I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know how, but it feels like if you can master the breathing. Oh, you brought me some goodies as well.
I did, yes. As long as you don't have any allergies.
Yeah, no. I've told you about one allergy I have, which is totally irrespective of what you're about to give me, because that looks delicious. Yeah. There are some times when, your allergy doesn't kick in if that food is really, really delicious.
Yeah, well, this has got peanuts in it.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy to eat that.
You're happy to eat that.
Yeah,
so
I
brought
got a little touch of it.
So being vegetarian month, I wanted to share some recipes which are really healthy. So this has got peanuts, it's got cacao, it's got coconut, it's got honey in it. So if you are able to have these foods,
I'm able to eat. That looks delicious. I mean, you can count the amount of things that I could or could not. Oh, absolutely! I'll try one of those. Yes, thank you very much for asking. It's not good on radio to be eating, but on this one occasion, Allergy? What allergy? No, I'm being serious here. This is delicious.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I know with my allergy, it's a psychological thing. I know. And I wish I could say this story. No, I'll tell you this story. It's a funny story, actually.
Yeah.
But it's not that funny. But I never knew there was such a thing as peanut allergy when I was 17 or 18 years old. And I knew a woman who was a girl, my age, who was allergic to peanuts. And then I became allergic. It's not solid. So, I can eat peanuts, but I tend to sort of like try and stay away from them just in case.
And you're fine so far.
Yeah, I'm fine so far. If I'm not going to be fine with this in the next 17 minutes before 10 o'clock, you will know. I'm fine so far. It's delicious.
Yeah, so it's actually meant to be a healthier alternative to the Snickers chocolate.
Okay,
so it's got that crunchy
I call it marathon still, by the way, Snickers. Yeah, that's from the old generation.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know about that. But anyway, yeah.
So it's got peanuts in there. And what I've done is use less sugar. So instead of refined sugar, we're using honey in it. So it does still have some sweetness, but natural sweetness. We've used peanuts. And actually, I've used oats in here as well. I like to use oats in a lot of my recipes. Very good source of fiber. They do also have some protein in them. But it just means when you're having something like this, it makes you feel fuller for a long time versus you needing something too quickly.
Where can we find your recipes?
You can find, actually, there is a recipe book, which is, you can go onto my Instagram if you want to. And you can find the link there, or you can just go to my website, sujatadin.com/vegetarian recipes, and you can download a recipe book. I think there's about 16 or 17 recipes in that recipe book, including this one.
It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and thank you for trying to, make a new, or help me develop a new me for the year. If not a new me, a newer me than the me that was here before you came in.
Thank you so much for having
Absolute
me here.
Pleasure, Sujata Din, and I'll eat the rest of it.